A cop decides to pull over the wrong vehicle and pulls out a gun on a child. All right. Put up the picture full mass. This is a horrific story. South Carolina, the city has now settled a lawsuit, a city in South Carolina filed by a young woman who was pulled over by multiple cops and treated like a car theft. It was treated like a car theft in spite they disregarded that she actually did not commit a crime. So the traffic stop involved a teenager named La'Nisha Hemingway. Miss Hemingway was pulled over with guns drawn. This happened earlier this year, May 3rd. Police officers in North Myrtle Beach were looking for a stolen Dodge Challenger. And they decided to stop the teenager, Miss Hemingway. They detained Miss Hemingway, who was driving a car of the same make, but not of the same model and not of the same color. They knew this was not the car. Right before pulling Miss Hemingway over, body cam footage shows Officer Kayla Wallace telling dispatch she was preparing to conduct a, quote, high-risk stop on the teenager's car. After initiating the stop, Wallace states, not it, indicating that the vehicle she pursued was not the car police were looking for. By the time Wallace made the revelation, another officer, Mike Pacelio, had pulled up to the scene, exited his car, guns drawn, demanding Hemingway get out of her vehicle while holding her at gunpoint. Wallace follows suit, points her weapon at Hemingway as well. Hemingway, who was on her way to meet with friends to celebrate their upcoming high school graduation, expressed shock and confusion throughout the encounter. Now, you could have argued for the police up until the point where the officer who just said that is not the vehicle engaged in holding a teenage citizen hostage. So she says clearly, not the car. We've made a mistake here. It's not the one. Another cop comes in, guns drawn, get out the car. What does the officer who's aware there's no criminal act being done, what does the officer do? Pulls out a gun, aims the gun, agrees with the second officer who has no information contrary to the information provided. So they both engage in the same activity. This doesn't make sense. One officer knows this is not a criminal. The other officer is just a guns blazing person. And all of a sudden, this officer becomes guns blazing. What the hell is going on? Nobody says to another cop, hey, listen, Jim, this is wrong one. There's more. She wondered why the cop stopped her, demanded they let her call her mother. Wallace told her that the police got a hit, that her car was stolen. Hemingway requested the officers to check her license and registration to prove otherwise. But neither Wallace nor the other officer checked Hemingway's documents. So you have the young Miss Hemingway, teenager, going to a high school graduation gathering. She has provided the information required, has volunteered it. Check this document and the license tag. That's all you have to do. The reason they didn't do that is because a lie has now been told to create a cover-up. The lie is, we got a hit. There was no hit. Seems small. It seems like a throwaway statement, but it was, in fact, corrupt in its posit. Why? Because it was to cover up what they have done. There's more. Body cam footage also shows officers searching Ms. Hemingway's car while the teen questions, while they're not running her license plates and protesting their treatment. Ms. Hemingway, the teenager, filed a federal lawsuit the month after the traffic stop, accusing both officers of false imprisonment, unlawful seizure, and excessive force, recklessness, and negligent training. This is your new generation, ladies and gentlemen. It took her 30 days. She's a teenager. 30 days. The stop was not publicized. It didn't have news coverage. Didn't need to. She knew exactly what to do. Why were they checking her car? They were hoping to find something illegal or perhaps plant it. But at least they were hoping to find something illegal. Why? Because then they could justify all of their illegal and corrupt actions up until that point. Because if they find something illegal, if they can pin something on her, all of a sudden, their office violations, administrative violations, and their legal violations, well, she had marijuana in the car. According to the complaint, the stolen car report police received described a silver Dodge Challenger, a two-door car, and a South Carolina license plate that read VLP 678. Hemingway, the teenager, was driving a dark gray Dodge Charger, a four-door vehicle, with a South Carolina plate that read VSW 736. Shortly after Wallace places Hemingway in handcuffs, body cam footage shows that second officer, the one that responded, informing her that they did, in fact, stop the wrong car. Now, everybody's up to speed. Wallace responds, "That's not it." As if the development is new to her. Wallace promptly removes the cuffs and tries to explain the situation to Ms. Hemingway, who is obviously upset by the encounter. Quote, "I don't want to hear ish," she said. "Let me go," Hemingway said as she walked back to her sedan, climbed into the driver's seat. The city has now paid Ms. Hemingway $250,000 to settle her lawsuit. No other stipulations were included in the agreement. Both officers are still employed with the police department. Following the settlement, Hemingway told reporters that she suffered from anxiety, PTSD, and depression since the traffic stop. Once again, police defunded the police. The anti-defund the police crowd says nothing. Quote, "The police officers around the world are supposed to be here to protect us, not cause no harm or trauma," Hemingway said, adding, quote, "The incident with North Myrtle Beach Police Department ruined my life. I'm not the same anymore. If I would have moved differently or reacted differently, I probably would not be here today." Hemingway also shared that she wants to advocate for community members who have encountered similar experiences. Quote, "Nobody sets out to be a civil rights activist," Hemingway's attorney, Tyler Bailey, said. "She should want to mind her own business, want to hang out with her friends for her senior year. And this one moment changed her life forever. But what I would like to see her do is take some time to be a kid too." Put a picture back up. 3 E's, as I tell my college students, always define us: our experiences, our exposures, and our environments. This experience has created a tapestry in this teenager's definition and how she's defined. I want to say this to the teenager who handled herself quite well, very proud of her strength, how she has held these cops accountable, and her willingness to transform the moment into an advocacy point for others. They did not ruin your life. They have added fire to your purpose. That's all they have done. Sharon, thoughts here?
You're right. She was drafted into this civil rights fight. And this lawless behavior, they basically kidnapped the person. That's what they held her, is really prevalent. So I'm glad that she wants to fight for others. This has been going on. It's still happening. And I believe, I'll close with this, that the family is, I hate to say it, but they're still under threat, because when you allow thugs to escape any real scrutiny, any consequences, they'll be looking to pull them over and do what we know these gangs do in uniform.
And we've reported on this so many times that an officer will be deemed to be wrong and corrupt, and all of a sudden the police department or the adjacent police department from a neighboring city starts to harass the same family. All right, we're going to continue to bring updates to this story as they do develop.